Hi friends, welcome back to Julie at Home. In today's video, I will be sharing with you the resources and activities we did in our astronomy unit. For those of you who are new here, I am a homeschool mom of 4. We are finishing up a 4th grade year, a 2nd grade year, and we have a newly turned 4-year-old and a newly turned 2-year-old. These resources are really aimed at my 4th and 2nd grader, my elementary age students, but I do like to incorporate my preschooler and toddler as well. So there will be some books and activities aimed more at them, and I will share those with you as we go. Like most of my units and resources, I have a lot of books, so I'll be sharing those with you. For general books, I have 2 reference books here. Now, I have The Mysteries of the Universe, which is a DK, and I have the Usborne book of Astronomy and Space. And as usual, I will link as much as I can in the description box below for you to check that out. A lot of those are affiliate links, so thank you if you use them. I like to have 2 reference books where possible, just because I think it's a good practice to look at more than one source, and I like to get my kids into that habit. And we actually had a really good example in here where on one topic they disagreed, and we had to go look for a couple other sources. We looked online for sources that we could trust to figure out the discrepancy, and I think it was a typo in one. But yeah, that was really a kind of an interesting lesson in itself, and we used these almost every lesson, and I will touch back on exactly how we use them in a minute. I also filmed us doing a lesson, so I will link that here. The Stars by H.A. Rey. This is an older book, but I'm pretty sure it's been newly published, so it should be pretty easy to find. It is fantastic. This is actually the same author as the Curious George books, which I didn't realize until we were reading a Curious George book and I noticed the author. It's really well done. Now, it's not as, we read through most of it, but a lot of it is pictures and star charts, so we didn't read through all the words on the star chart. It really explains the mechanics of the stars and how, they don't move, how we move, and it looks like they move. It's just really, really interesting stuff I'd never learned before. And I think this would be even better for older grades, but I think they were able to grasp at least some of it. And then we'll build on it in the future as well. And this is really handy if you like to look at the stars, which is something that I hadn't done a lot of before, but now I love to. So, The Stars by H.A. Rey. This is just a book I recommend generally for nature and science. Pretty much any nature and science unit you're going to do, there's something in here for it. So I believe this has the phases of the moon. It's not a lot of detail, but it's just they're just really beautiful pictures, and I like to use them for copying. This had phases of the moon, which I don't think we copied this time because I had another resource that I will share, but also constellations. But I just wanted to put it out there. I think that's it for the ones we looked at for astronomy, but yeah, this is just an amazing resource. Now, I did purchase the Real Science Odyssey Astronomy. This is their elementary level science. It's aimed at grades 1 through 4. I didn't end up using a lot of it. In general, I think they have really good programs. If you need more of that structure, if you want more experiments, this is great. We can't actually do a lot of experiments that are directly about astronomy here. We don't have a big telescope. We don't have the math and the observation patterns and everything. So they were, stuff about how things get heated up, or about color and why the sky is blue, which is great, but it's not really what I wanted to focus on in my astronomy study. So I used a few things in this, but honestly, not a lot. So yeah, but I just wanted to say it's here, I got it. I do like their stuff. I will be using their chemistry next year. I will tell you more about that in another video. We also have these 2 books. I don't know that one's better than the other. It's just 50 Things to See with the Telescope and My First Telescope. And we actually were gifted by my parents a telescope for Christmas, I believe. And we finally used it, which was really fun, actually. And so if you do end up getting a telescope or are gifted a telescope, they also gifted us these, and I would highly recommend it because they're, yeah, there are some things that I just needed to know and needed to look for, and it's fun. However, I would say it may not be practical for you to have a telescope, and I don't think you absolutely need one. I would just encourage you to go outside when it's, when you can see where you can see stars and other things, and just look with your eyes. We ended up seeing a lot of things without the telescope anyway. So those are all my general books. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Let me just start by explaining how I did a lesson. I have a lesson list here, and I can actually include this document below so you can check it out if you're interested. I wasn't really using the curriculum as written, so I created my own outline just to make sure that I was hitting all the topics that I thought were important, and so I could list the resources I had on each of those topics. I would read any sort of extra book that I had on the topic first. Now there's some topics that I have many books for. We did not do them all in one day. We would spread them out. And then I would use the reference books to read more about that particular topic or one specific thing. So for example, when we were doing the solar system, I might read a book on the solar system. We had several. So I would just read one, and then we went through the planets. So we would do 1 or 2 planets a day, read about them in our reference book, and my children would add a picture and a couple facts in their unit books. I think it will help the document make a little bit more sense because I put, unit books, what we're going to put in there and such on there. And now I'll finally show you some of those books on those subjects. There's actually a thunderstorm happening outside, and it's really cozy in here, but hopefully the thunder and rain aren't too loud and distracting. So we started with the general introduction to the universe and the Big Bang Theory, and I have this book here, One Day a Dot, which it's also in my, I have a Big Bang unit study video, so I will link that here. We did it kind of prehistory before we started, but it's the story of how the Earth formed. So, and this is really simple text and great for little ones as well. So, and I do teach evolution, Big Bang and evolution, all that in my homeschool, if that wasn't obvious. I do use secular resources, so that is what I will share with you. So I have several books on the solar system. This is Your Bedroom is a Solar System, and it actually has stickers that you can put up, and we didn't end up doing that because my children have different bedrooms and I didn't want to fight about it. We may in the future put them in the playroom, actually. I was debating that. And this is kind of more of a reference book, to be honest. I was hoping it'd be more of a story. So we looked through it, and it is kind of a cool book. But yeah, I preferred the other reference books, so we didn't use this one quite as much. There's No Place Like Space. This is a Cat in the Hat book. I don't always love the Cat in the Hat books, but this one's pretty good. It's all about our solar system, and it makes it more fun. I see it's like a story. They're traveling around, and I enjoy that kind of book. I like to incorporate them. Similarly, you may have noticed with my outfit, I am channeling Miss Frizzle, and I do love the Magic School Bus series. So this is Magic School Bus Lost in the Solar System, and again, it's a story, and they get lost in the solar system. And so you learn a lot about that. My kids make me read all the dialogue and all the side parts, which when I'm tired, I don't always want to do. But there is a lot of it's funny and informative, so. Sorry for the glare. That is the Magic School Bus Lost in the Solar System. I also have the sun, our nearest star. I did want to focus a little bit more on the sun because it's important. This is the Let's Read and Find Out About series. And there's more on space. Back here it's listing floating in space, the International Space Station, what is the moon like? They have just a lot of really good science topics, so they're a good resource. And I have Pluto Gets the Call, which is a funny one. This is Pluto, is not a planet anymore, even though he was when I was my kid's age. And it's kind of about that and him with the other planets, and yeah, it's like personifying the planets, and it's funny. So, okay. There we go. That's what I have on the solar system. When we moved on to the moon, we also learned about Galileo. So I have Who Was Galileo? We also have this Jim Weiss CD. It's Galileo and the Stargazers. My kids and I really enjoy Jim Weiss stories. He's a storyteller. We have some of his history stories as well. And this goes through, it's Archimedes and the Golden Crown, and then Galileo and the Stargazers. And it talks not just about Galileo, but also like Kepler, and then it gets into Isaac Newton a bit towards the end. So that's really cool. I did have my kids write a narration on Galileo after we learned about him. Check out some of my other videos if you have more questions about narrations. I'm also thinking of doing a separate video on that, so if you have specific questions on narration, put them below. These first 2 books about the moon are aimed at the younger ones. So this is If You Were the Moon. Here we go. It's about different things that the moon does, and I read these for my older kids, these parts here. It's more information on the moon, but for younger ones, I would just read this part here. And since we had so many resources on the moon, I just chose this for the younger ones. I wasn't choosing it for necessarily information, although I did read it to them. And then On the Moon, which is just a story about a child pretending to go to the moon. This is The Moon Book by Gail Gibbons. I've had this for a long time. I really enjoy this book. It goes through the phases. It has a lot of information. Think Gail Gibbons, Let's Read and Find Out. Those are great go-to sources for picture books for science for kids. And then we have Moonshot, which is the flight of Apollo 11. This is beautiful. So just intersect here, the author is Brian Flocka, and we used his locomotive, I think it's called. This is about the trains going out west. Anyway, and that was beautifully done. And so I was like, what else does he have? Turns out he has Moonshot. And again, it is beautiful. It won the Robert F. Seibert honor book. Let's see. Oh, I got it used. So it has these like notes in it from a prior teacher, and I just left them because I thought they were really interesting. So we learned about that. Talking about the moon, I also want to mention that we did watch Hidden Figures. We thought about watching Apollo 13, but decided it might be a little too scary. And then I also want to mention I purchased a space packet, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what to call it, from Steph Hathaway, and I will have it linked below. But you can purchase one just on the moon or just on the stars, or I think spaces in general. And I just got all the space bundle. It's printable resources, so it has like memory cards, activity ideas, poems, just lots of beautifully done resources. We used one of her moon phase activity sheets, and we used Oreos to make the moon phases. And it turns out my kids had never had Oreos before, so it was a very fun day. We made moon phases, and then we, of course, ate the Oreos. I'll insert some pictures here because I know I took some. She also included a tutorial on painting the moon, so we did that and included it in their unit books. You could also make moon cookies, and that is something I've done before. Last time there was an eclipse, I think we made some fun moon-shaped cookies. But since we had just had the Oreos, we decided not to do that. All right, let's move on to the stars. I've already mentioned the stars book. We read that. It took us a while to get through that. And then I also have some other things. So this is another Gail Gibbons book. This is Stargazers. And again, it's going to talk about the stars. It talks about astronomy in general. So you could start with this. It talks about how telescopes work. It's just in general, lots of good information in here. A more fun book, we have The Magic School Bus Sees Stars. We use the reference books to learn more about things like the birth and death of a star, and nebulas and galaxies, and like a supernova and black holes, which my son really wanted to learn about black holes, so we did that. So we did that all in the context of learning about stars. I also have another biography here. This is The Stuff Between the Stars, which is how Vera Rubin discovered most of the universe. Vera Rubin was, or is, I'm not sure if she's still alive, but she was a female astronomer. One of the first female astronomers. She worked hard to earn her place there. And she actually learned about, I want to say dark matter, but basically what is between the stars, right? What is most of the universe made of? I also just want to read you this quote. Each one of you can change the world, for you are made of star stuff and you are connected to the universe. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? I love that. It's a wonderful quote you could frame somewhere, and I might do that. But yes, this is a good picture book biography of her life and her work, and so wanted to include that in there. And then we talked a little bit about the constellations. We spent some time looking for them in the sky. I was pretty excited about it, maybe even more so than my kids. And I've had this book for a while. I used this when we did Greek mythology, and it's stories from the stars, Greek myths of the zodiac. And this is more of a fun thing. I actually then had my children each choose a constellation and write a myth basically about how that constellation came to be. I think they both chose 2 constellations and they both came up with something really creative and funny. So I enjoyed that. We did do a field trip to a planetarium where we saw a planetarium show and it was amazing. So if you have the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. We had to drive quite a ways to ours, but we went to a show that was like the sky tonight, and they literally just went through like what we could expect to see in the sky where that night and over the coming week. And it was just a really great kickoff for me of spending more time looking for certain things. We were able to identify Venus, which like pops up in the west for us just after dusk, or was at that time of year. I don't know if it still is, but it's so fun. I highly recommend a planetarium show if you can make it. Before I get to the unit study books, I wanted to mention a few more resources, and I wanted to highlight the Steph Hathaway products again, and again they will be linked below, but her painting tutorials were fantastic, and so I really recommend adding some art. I try to add art in studies whenever I can, and one easy thing that you could do where you don't need any other resources to do it is to do like a splatter star painting. So especially if you just use black construction paper and white paint, and then you get some white paint on your paintbrush and you flick it. It's actually really useful to use another paintbrush or a stick or something, and tap, 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 and it splatters and looks like stars or a galaxy. Super fun. Definitely protect the surfaces around you, but fun from like toddler preschool on up. I feel like everybody can have fun with that one. I had lots of other ideas. I have a tendency to have ideas that would be really fun to do, but not practical to try to do with especially the little ones around. So one idea was to make a felt model of the planets. So use like wool felt and put together the planets, and preferably in some sort of scale that's a little tricky to hang. And I thought that'd be really fun, but we didn't get to that one. You can run with that if you like. Another idea that I might try to get my daughter to help me on for Christmas presents, but I'm not sure, we'll see, is to do constellation embroidery. So like have an embroidery hoop and do little knots for the stars and then just lines between. And I thought it'd be fun to do people's zodiac signs. So for example, I'm Aquarius, so I could do like Aquarius on there. I thought that could be fun. There's so many different art ideas you can do. I will just mention while we're in the middle of this, I actually did a mini makeover on my son's rooms because my baby moved into his brother's room, so now they share. And I actually had my husband paint their one like back wall dark blue, and then I painted stars all over it, and I found a really cool moon light from Pottery Barn. But you could do like a painting, or really the sky's the limit. Have fun. Let me show you a couple things. I love the Professor Noggins games. This is outer space, and so we've gone through it I think twice now. We like to pull these out and do them during dinner. Actually, I have quite the collection, and we rotate. Some of them stay like near our dining area. I enjoy these quite a bit. It's helpful to have at least one child with you that can read, or at least another parent with you, or else nobody can ask you the questions, but these are super fun. I've had this for a while. This is a Melissa and Doug solar system puzzle. It's quite large, and I did not have my big two do this, but I had this out, and I think I ended up doing it with my preschooler. Not as like a, this is for school, but just she likes doing puzzles occasionally, so we had it out so that she could do it. So this, I got this to do with the study, and I'm going to share it with you, but we haven't actually played it yet. We're going to try to play it tonight, and I will maybe put down below or maybe insert something here about how it was. Are you ready? I'm going to flip the timer. Go. A house?
A TV? Yep.
Now I want to show you my children's unit books. Okay, so this is my 4th graders, and here's my 2nd graders. I had them write astronomy on the cover, and then I just let them draw whatever they want as long as it was somewhat related to astronomy. So she included some aliens because she loves aliens, and I told her I'd rather her do that here than in other spots in the books, although there might be one more page in here with them. So let's take a quick look. Yes, I let her choose this one too, so this is another alien. I had her write, over here, she wrote down the definition of astronomy. This was just an opening page, so yeah. This is apparently the Milky Alien, the creator of the Milky Way. Okay, so this is where it really starts here. It's a pretty big book. I'll show you one page at a time. I will try to remember and have linked below where I got these unit books. They're like Waldorf unit books, and I quite like them. All right, so I had them do a drawing of the solar system. I forget exactly what resource we used for this, but I think I found it in a book, one that I particularly liked. So we wanted to make sure we included the asteroid belt and the Kuiper belt, and they did include Pluto. Even though they know it's not a real planet, it's a dwarf planet. Then I had them copy this poem. This is a poem that's included in the Real Science Odyssey astronomy book, and I thought it could be fun to kind of introduce the solar system and the planets. So they did copy work there. And then we just went through the different planets. So this is the sun, and this is actually from Steph Hathaway Designs. She has the different planets, so there might be a couple that they chose to cut out and put in here, and there's some more of her resources in here I'll point out. So again, for my 4th grader, she did the drawings, she wrote everything. I was around to help her spell things, but if she didn't ask me, some of them are not spelled correctly, and the way we handle that is I'm not correcting them in this book because we're trying to isolate the level of difficulty, and just coming up with the, remembering the facts and getting them to paper is enough difficulty level without going back and like nitpicking about the spelling. So I look through things like this and use them as spelling words to go back to later. So that's how I handle that. I did make sure, I'm pretty sure I made sure that the planets and all like the titles were all spelled correctly. I helped them spell those, but you might notice there's like when doesn't have a W there and stuff. Mercury. Venus. Earth. She did home with little hearts. Mars and the asteroid belt. Jupiter, Saturn. Saturn has 82 moons. Fun fact. Uranus, Neptune, the Kuiper belt, and Pluto's over here. There we go. All right, so these are both from the Steph Hathaway Designs bundle, and I had them glue the planets and the asteroids here are glued on in order, and then this was a solar system word scramble that I had them do that they also glued in here. Okay, then we're at the moon. So this is actually the moon watercolor painting that my daughter did based on the tutorial, and I just am so impressed with it. I think it looks so cool. So they did it on watercolor paper, and then they cut it out and glued it in here with their facts. And then we have the phases of the moon here, which they also made in Oreos, but obviously the Oreos were eaten. So then we used, again, these are all from Steph Hathaway images, beautifully done watercolors. There. So it says, I didn't even notice this before, but she said phases of the moon, not Jupiter's, ours. All right, then we have some on stars. So this page over here is actually about galaxies. And it says the Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. And then this is a little bit on the life cycle of a star and a nebula, which is where baby stars are formed. Okay, then we have a black hole, which she wasn't really into. That was more for her brother, and meteor. So you could kind of tell where her interest kind of fizzled out a little bit there. And then at the end, we have her constellation story, which she did the dragon and the little fox. And so I had them do the dragon and the little fox. So these are actually how the constellations. Little fox is just 2 stars connected by a line. And then she had to add her drawings because she loves to do that. So that is her astronomy unit book. Again, she's finishing up her 4th grade year. We did this kind of in the middle of the year. We spent quite a few months on this, to be honest. So I'm very proud of how that turned out. Let me show you my 2nd grader's work, because obviously it's a little different. He is younger. He's also just not as confident in his drawing and writing. So I just wanted to show you like the different levels that they were at. I helped him spell, and I did have him write astronomy, so that is his handwriting there. He didn't want to add anything extra here, so this is a blank page, and I did write the definition for him there. So we kind of, with him, we kind of trade off with having him write some things, but then I write a bulk of it, like he tells me the facts and I write them and so on. I did have him do the copy work of that poem. Now my daughter, I think, did it in 2 sessions, and he took longer. He took 4 or 5 or 6, I can't remember. And he did have to go back and like erase and fix things a couple of times. We had a bit of a struggle, but he got it done. I'm very proud of him. Okay, then that's his solar system. Sun and Mercury. Now again, I'm just going to flip through here, and so you can kind of get an idea. I wrote the facts for him. He wrote this. And he decided, he did the drawing, and he decided what the facts were again. So he wrote home sweet home there for Earth. I like his asteroid drawings. Oh, he included the asteroid series here. So that was fun. Saturn and Uranus, Neptune, Kuiper Belt, and Pluto. And then he again has these. He added his little meteor over there. This is his moon painting. I think it also came out fabulous. Nebula, galaxies. Black hole, meteors. I don't know why we didn't write any facts on this. I must have been checked out that day, not fully on it. And then he did The Secret of Crab Island, where he talked about the ship and the crab. So crab is the constellation of Cancer. And then there is a ship constellation that is amazing. It actually has like a sail and it's very cool. So there we go. Okay. Again, I am so proud of the work that they put into that this year. And I love doing these unit books, and I think we will continue to do things like this as we go forward. Those are the resources that I used for our unit study on astronomy this year. It's one of those things that I don't know if you're ever really done. I had trouble wrapping it up because there's always so much to learn. There's always so much to observe out in nature. So this is one of those things that I'm going to try to have us more regularly put in our nature journal what we're seeing in the sky, if we see constellations, planets, anything like that. Yeah, so that's a goal going forward, because I don't want to be done. I don't want to be done. I guess that's why I'm a homeschool mom. I continuously love to learn things. I hope these helped. Links in the description box below. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to see them. I hope you and your families are well. I'll see you again soon. Bye, friends.